The Great Gatsby was based in the 1920s, when women were breaking away from old traditions and gaining greater independence. As a result, The Great Gatsby exemplifies several of the changes taking place during that time. The most noticeable characteristic of the women in the book is the way they act. The popular movement of the 20s was the flappers. They wore short dresses, listened to jazz, openly smoked and drank, and acted flirtatiously. Daisy, Myrtle, and Jordan all fit the description of flappers. Myrtle in particular always was acting flirtatiously and attending different parties. Women were previously regarded as fragile and needing protection, but they are shown doing new things like driving and going off by themselves. In Chapter 1, Tom shows how men thought of women at the time when he talks about Jordan and her golfing. He said, "She's a nice girl. Her family wouldn't let her run around that way." The boisterousness of the women in the book lets readers know how flappers acted in society and were perceived by others at the time. Flappers truly changed societal norms. They made makeup acceptable to wear for the everyday woman and paved the way for the bikini. Traditional gender roles were broken, and women today have many great opportunities. The current age of modern women largely began because of the flappers.
In New York, crime was big during the 1920s. During this time period, the mafia was present, and it was dangerous to be around New York City. In the late 1920s, there were many wars between the Italian mafia. In present time, there is not much mafia association around New York today compared to the 1920s. The most popular crimes would be pickpocketers and purse snatchers. In many places around New York, there is always a police officer on every street, especially around the 9/11 memorial. The size of the NYPD is 34,500. If the NYPD had its own army, it would be in the top 10 around the world. In present time, there is an estimated 5 homicides a year in New York City, which compared to other cities like Manhattan is a good number. When Daisy ran over Myrtle in Gatsby's car in present time, she would probably be arrested. There was only one police officer who responded, compared to today's time where there would be many. If there was a hit and run in today's time, there would probably be a manhunt for a suspect. An important difference between crime in the 1920s and present time would be the media. The media really influenced crimes for the good and bad for the past few decades. The media can give out descriptions and often capture suspects from tips. The media having an influence on crime can also be a negative thing. Cases like the Casey Anthony trial and the Trayvon case were two of the bigger cases that the media has had an effect on. During the Trayvon case, the media only released the good information and the good pictures of him, which led to the country being divided. Many people thought Zimmerman targeted Trayvon because of his race. With the way the media is today, it has the potential to lead to riots in cases like these. A few of the crimes that were committed in the book was Daisy getting ran over and the rigging of the 1919 World Series.
Music is a symbol of evolution as shown in The Great Gatsby. During the time period which was well known as the Roaring Twenties, music had been based off of classic jazz and happy upbeat tunes like they had played during most of Gatsby's parties. Considering this was the period where everything was booming, music was a big part of this change. There were different types of music during this period, but it was narrowed down for most of the 20s. The 20s were in consideration one of the biggest times for music. Skipping ahead to the 80s, with mainstream songs at the time like Call Me or Take On Me, had shown a change in music, sort of like a revolution. A lot more rock was played and a bigger variety of music was produced. People had different outlooks on music styles and how earlier music had sparked all these different styles. Nowadays, music has really shown its colors. There are all different types of music, as you can see. This has shown its resemblance to music during The Great Gatsby due to its admiration and inspiration to keep on making music. The music has a lot of correlation to today's music and how it changed to all different styles, still following its simple rules. I believe that rap and hip-hop is today's generation as was jazz back in the 20s.